Welcome to Elevating Our Stories. For this edition, our focus is elevating our stories of policy. I'm Sylvia Ewing, a Principal Director at Elevate and your host for our monthly news magazine. Each month, we'll bring you a big story about Elevate's collaborative work on climate equity. That is, making the benefits, services, and careers of the clean energy economy available to everyone, especially those often left behind. We'll share a fun segment with tips to help you save money and keep your home healthy this spring with my co-host Amrit Such and her sidekick Ernie. Later, we'll meet Tina Marie Williamson, a coordinator on Elevate's workforce and contractor development team, to discuss the world of contracting and look at employment and business opportunities in the clean energy economy. Let's get started. To kick us off, please welcome my colleague, Ann McKibbin, Elevate's Principal Director of Policy. Hey, Ann.
Hi, Sylvia.
And let's just start with a quick overview. What do you do? What's your job?
I'm Elevate's Principal Director of Policy, so I manage a team. There's 5 of us on the team of folks who do policy across all the states that Elevate works in. So we try to improve the laws and rules that govern things like energy efficiency, renewables, and workforce development for the clean energy economy.
Well, thanks. And how do you and your team try to influence public policy around clean water, clean energy, and workforce development?
Well, most of Elevate's staff works with people who actually own buildings and helps them improve their buildings. But they learn a lot along the way. And so we take what they've learned and we try to get that information to policymakers so that they can, in turn, along with some recommendations that we give them, create policies that are more effective, more efficient, and more equitable.
So this isn't just coming up with guidance on new laws out of thin air. You're really using real-world applications to design it. What about some of your successes in the arena?
Well, we were, here in Illinois, we were part of a larger coalition that was able to move forward and pass the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act a few years ago. And that bill was deeply influenced by the experiences of folks in the community and what they thought they needed from their clean energy economy.
And that has a coalition that you work with as well. So there's a lot of people at the table.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And so Illinois did pass the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, or CEJA, in late 2021, which at the time was billed as the most equitable state climate law ever passed in the U.S. How is the implementation of the law progressing?
Well, it's a good question. It was a really big law, and there's a lot of different parts to it. Some of those parts are already in play. They're already being implemented. So, for example, our industrial facilities can now take advantage of electric energy efficiency programs that they couldn't before. So that's really exciting. There are other parts of the bill that have taken longer to get into place. Unfortunately, some of the workforce development programs are parts of that. The state agencies that need to implement those needed to hire folks to get that started, and that always takes a little while. But we're hopeful that now things will start moving faster and that we'll have some really great programs coming up.
I know people don't like to hear about delay, and I know that there were lots of legislators that stood up for the law, but together, slowly but surely, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, since CEJA, the federal government has passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act, which are the most significant climate legislations passed by the federal government. How do these laws work together, and what can consumers and businesses expect to see from them?
Yeah, well, they're really complementary, which is just fantastic. The federal bills are creating or funding dozens and dozens of different programs to help ease the transition to clean energy for residents and for businesses and throughout the economy. Those programs, as they start to get implemented, each state will need to coordinate them with their own state policies. I think we've got really great policies in place here in Illinois for them to work with. And I'm really also heartened to see that the federal policies have also put really a lot of importance on equitable implementation and ensuring that the benefits of those policies get to communities that have been left behind in the past.
And so can you give an example of how a local community might see those benefits come their way eventually?
Yeah, so the U.S. Department of Energy is right now working to stand up a program that will provide energy efficiency and building electrification retrofit like rebates for folks. That funding will be coming to the state of Illinois. We are expecting over $100 million of money for these rebates. And then the state of Illinois will create a program where residents can access these rebates right when they go to buy this equipment. And this will be super efficient in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment, electric heat pumps, possibly electric stoves, things along those lines. So I think we'll see, it'll take them a little while, but probably certainly within the next year, we should see those rebates start to flow down to residents.
I like that because we encourage people to use electrification and clean energy, and this will give access to some funding and rebates to make the price more palatable for those who need it.
For customers who have low incomes, it may even pay for the equipment completely. So please be on the lookout for those.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And where do they find this information? Of course, we try to do our best in our website, but talk a little bit about the community organizations that have been involved in this work, where people might turn.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Outreach around these programs is going to be super important. The programs, most of them will be administered by state agencies such as Illinois EPA, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Illinois Finance Agency. So they'll have information on their websites, but those agencies are also going to be working with community-based organizations to help inform the public. So look to your trusted messengers, the folks in your community that you work with regularly, your faith communities or what have you. Hopefully we'll be able to get the message out to them and it'll get to you.
That is so important. And I know that through Illinois Solar for All, often people can apply to be grassroots educators, and they can go to the ILSFA website for that and be one of those trusted messengers, and get some compensation around it. So there's so much to think about: water, energy efficiency, extreme weather. How do you bring all of these concerns together, and are there trends that you see in any of the areas? We're always concerned with extreme weather because that feels like where we can see the impact of the climate crisis in our neighborhoods immediately. But what are the trends that you see and things we should know about or look towards?
Yeah, well, I totally agree about extreme weather. Folks around the country are experiencing that, and that's the message is getting to Congress and the federal government that that's something that folks want to focus on. So extreme weather also points to the sense of urgency. I think there's a growing sense of urgency around climate. The scientists are telling us we've got about 10 years to get off of fossil fuels. And the good news is, though, another trend is we've got the technology to do that, and it's the cheapest energy out there. So there's a convergence of the sense of urgency, the improved technology, increasingly improved policies, although those have to keep going faster, we think, and the society's putting a lot more importance on equity and ensuring that benefits reach everyone. And I think these things are starting to come together in a way that's really beneficial.
Well, thank you for that. I know that this started with, we're not that clever about names, the Future Energy Jobs Act, which was FEJA, and now we have CEJA. But can you talk a little bit about the through line? Like, what did FEJA teach us that made CEJA become so focused on equity?
Yeah, laws tend to be sort of iterative, right? You start with a really good idea and then you learn pretty quickly as you implement, oh, but we missed this, this, and this. And so you come up with another bill to try to fix the gaps. And that's what happened there. With the Future Energy Jobs Act, we dramatically expanded energy efficiency, particularly on the electric side. And we got started with some workforce development programs in the state around clean energy. We found that those were successful, but they needed to be just much more, and they needed to be focused a little differently. So with the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, there was a huge focus on workforce development, on helping contractors learn how to grow their businesses so that they can then hire from their communities. So we're trying to improve over time. I think with the new resources from the federal government, we'll really see a sea change in the clean energy space in Illinois.
Well, thank you. And with your work, we hope that people will be able to look outside their door in their community and see these kinds of projects, not on television, but in their real world, in their life. So will you come back and talk to us in the future?
Absolutely.
Good. It wasn't that hard. It was good.
I'd be thrilled to.
Well, thank you, Anne. It was so good to see you. And I'm going to remind everyone to follow us on social media, etc. Check out Anne's work. But before we move on to our next segment, I want you to check out our 2022 Impact Report. This graphic shows you that it's at www.elevatemp.org. You can see all of the things that we did in 2022, including some of the policy work that Anne mentioned. Now, next, let's hear from my co-host, Amrit Such.
Do you want to know what makes Chicago great at 8? It's me. It's Cooking with Tittle. Bon appetit, let's eat. For more than 20 years, Cooking with Tittle has brought you sizzling eats and titillating treats that you can't beat anywhere else. So tune in to CAN TV 19 this week and every week for Cooking with Tittle and more amazing, unique, and homegrown Chicago programs.
Very informative. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to pass it over to Ernie, our Elevate mascot, with spring energy saving tips. Take it away, Ernie.
Thanks, Amrit. Ernie here with some tips on helping you spring into energy efficiency. Tip number 1, change your furnace filter. While spring cleaning this year, remember to clean your home's equipment too. Make a habit to look over your furnace and air conditioning system during your spring cleaning to remove any dust or debris and change the filter. A dirty filter reduces airflow and makes the furnace work harder, using more energy. Tip number 2, reset your thermostat. You'll want to update your thermostat settings to a higher temperature so that your air conditioning doesn't run as much. Tip number 3, and my favorite tip, switch to LED light bulbs. Save money on your electric bill by swapping your traditional light bulbs for LEDs, like me. LED light bulbs last 25 times longer and use 75% less electricity than incandescent bulbs. That's it for my spring energy savings tips. Back to you, Amrit.
Before we go back to Sylvia, here's a video about an innovative clean energy technology called a heat pump.
You might be familiar with a furnace or a boiler, but have you heard of a heat pump? A heat pump is a type of heating system that uses less energy and emits fewer carbon emissions than a traditional heating system, making it a climate-friendly solution to heating and cooling our homes. Heat pumps can be used to both cool a home in the summer and heat a home in the winter. Instead of generating heat like a furnace or a boiler, a heat pump transfers heat between indoor and outdoor air. A heat pump typically has two components, one outside the house and one inside. The two units transfer heat by using a refrigerant, which is used in the air conditioning units you're probably used to seeing. During the summer, cooled refrigerant absorbs heat inside the house with the help of the indoor coil that acts as an evaporator. The heated refrigerant then moves outside and is released by the outdoor coil that acts as the condenser. The now cooled refrigerant is brought inside to repeat the process. During the winter, the process and the roles of the indoor and outdoor coils are reversed. Now, the outdoor coil acts as an evaporator and allows the refrigerant to absorb heat from outside the air. In winter, the evaporator operates at very low temperatures so that the refrigerant is colder than the outside air and can still absorb heat. The heated refrigerant is then brought inside and released by the indoor coil to heat the house. Heat pumps come in many shapes and sizes, and the technology is improving every year. As an energy-saving option for heating and cooling, these heat pumps are part of the future of climate-friendly homes.
Thanks, Amrit, and nice to see you, Ernie. Now we get to go to one of my favorite elevators, Tina Marie Williamson. Welcome, Tina.
Hello, Sylvia. It's great to see you again.
And Tina, tell us what you do at Elevate.
I am the coordinator for workforce and contractor development. A lot of that work centers around me working with students that are established in our cohorts that teach solar training, as well as relationship management and strengthening with contractors and partners across the state of Illinois.
Very exciting. Before you came on, McKibbin was here talking about CEJA, talking about some of the opportunities. I want to make sure that every program has a focus on contractors and on working. So what's the big picture impact that this team wants to have?
Well, of course, Sylvia, here at Elevate, we create equity through climate action. And a key strategy of the workforce team is providing support and training for historically marginalized communities. Individual workforce training cohorts are trained through our Clean Energy Workforce Training Program, and business owner trainees are trained through our Clean Energy Business Accelerator.
I love that. And why does this work matter? Why do we need this?
Because the goal is for the trainees to build generational wealth and nurture future generations.
I love that. What are some of the projects and programs that you're working on to reach this vision?
Well, right now, I am in the middle of working on one of our workforce training programs where we teach energy skill trainings. It's classroom with hands-on training instruction to provide and give participants the technical skills and best practices needed to be successful in a career in sustainable energy. The instructors are helping prepare participants for tests and certifications, and the instructor is typically hosted in the community where the students are living. We also include job and skills training in the classroom. They're issued stipends and given networking opportunities and certifications that are helping ensure that job placement is in their future.
We talked earlier about, Ann and I, about wanting to see these benefits in communities, in your neighborhood, not just on television. And it really sounds like that is part of the work that you're doing with this community focus. So what are some of the opportunities that people can find either as an individual or as an organization to get involved? How do you become a student and how do you learn more?
That's a great question. So as a relationship manager with this team, I'm always encouraging people to reach out to us directly, either at Elevate's website or me directly via email or phone. But the best is right now building relationships and strengthening relationships, some that we have established but need to strengthen, but also looking for new opportunities with partners in the industry and employers. I am creating a job fair at the end of May for our students. And one of my key roles is to, from start to finish, build this job fair. And I am in the middle of communicating with employers across the country. In fact, today I spoke with someone in California and they have jobs in the Chicagoland area lined up. And so if people are interested in partnering, if they're looking for employees in this field, we could be supplying them with some excellent candidates that could be successful for them.
I love it. Well, we'll make sure that we put your information up on the screen, and they can always find us overall at elevatenp.org. You look like you're ready for spring. I appreciate your energy and the information that you shared. Hope you'll come back again, Tina.
I would love to return. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Tina, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us for Elevating Our Stories, and this episode, Elevating Our Stories of Policy. Thanks to Ann McKibbin, Tina Marie Williamson, and my co-host Amrit Such, and Ernie the LED light bulb, as well as everyone who made this program possible. I'm Sylvia Ewing. See you next time, and until then, follow us on social media and be well.